Hello world, welcome to the very first video I am posting on my channel. I would like to begin by introducing and sharing a little more about myself, the reason behind why I created this channel, as well as the goals that I have for both the channel and myself. I will also be breaking down my net worth as a university student living in Singapore later in the video. Timestamps down below. I would like to begin by introducing myself. As you can tell from the YouTube channel's name, I am Sebastian. I'm 25 this year and I'm a student studying in one of the universities in Singapore. Personal finance has been a big part of my life ever since my friend introduced the ideas of financial independence, retire early, or otherwise known as the FIRE movement, to me back when I was 21, which was when I started to get into it. Since then, I have been doing my own research and trying to work my way towards becoming financially free. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert at all things personal finance, but I guess I am still trying to learn the ropes of trying to be financially responsible. The next thing I want to talk about is the reason behind creating this channel. I think one of the main goals would be to hopefully inspire others to take their finances into their own hands and to show that the process is not as daunting as many people think. And I hope that by sharing my journey, I would be able to help others learn from my experience, whether it be my mistakes or maybe the things that I didn't screw up. Now that you have a better sense of everything, I would like to share the goals which I have set for myself. I've not exactly cranked the numbers of this yet as I'm still trying to figure life out. But one thing I do know is that having the disposable income would probably get me a long way. I would hopefully have a more clear goal to work towards in the future, but as of now, I only know that I want to be financially free, which would hopefully give me a chance to live the life I want to live. As of now, I don't really know what that looks like or what my ideal life would consist of. But I think one of the things which I would value would include things like working in a job because I find it fulfilling or interesting as compared to having to work because I constantly need the money to support myself. This is probably a very stereotypical retirement goal for people, but I guess it would be nice to travel the world at some point in my life without having to constantly worry about money or going back to a job that I do not like. Before I go any further, I would like to acknowledge that I was very lucky that many stars aligned for me to be able to hit what most people would say is the first milestone to achieving financial freedom. Firstly, I was not born into a wealthy family with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I was very fortunate that my parents essentially had their lives together and they were able to provide a comfortable life for me while I was growing up. So I'm extremely grateful for what my parents have done. However, while they did offer to give me an allowance in university and pay for my school fees, I ultimately turned them down because I did not want to burden them anymore and I wanted them to use the money for their retirement. And so, whatever money I have earned and spent since I was 18 has been from my own efforts. Do I regret that decision? I suppose I occasionally do, but I think trying this whole finance thing on my own without their help has ultimately taught me the value of money and the importance of being able to save and earn money. Another star which aligned for me was that I was fortunate enough to be awarded a scholarship of sorts. And while it was not a top tier scholarship, it was decent enough to help me pay for the university fees for my remaining semesters. It also gave me a monthly allowance, which I saved up to help pay off the university fees for the semesters before I was awarded the scholarship. Finally, the last thing that went my way was a friend who got me into this whole thing in the first place. If you ever do stumble upon this video, you probably know who you are. But anyways, I just want to say thank you for getting me into this world of personal finance to start me off. And I probably wouldn't have gotten to where I am without you. So then, after all that yapping, let's move on to the progress I've made so far. At the end of 2024, I finally managed to hit the magical 100k mark at the age of 24 while I was still studying in university. A large part of the 100k came from investing and side hustles like teaching tuition. The money I earned from my side hustles has helped me fund my investment brokerage account, which has been doing alright in the last couple of years. I will probably get into all that in another video, so subscribe if you want to hear more. A couple of things to note. Firstly, the currency of the 100k is in Singapore dollars and not US dollars. And secondly, I am also taking the money in my CPF into account. For those who aren't Singaporeans, CPF is basically a retirement fund which every Singaporean resident has to contribute a part of their income to, and the money in it can only be withdrawn after we hit the government determined retirement age. I will quickly be breaking down my net worth in this part of the video and will probably do a more in-depth breakdown in another video. So first, let's start with the assets. I have $14,946 in my CPF, which includes my OA, SA, and MA. My brokerage account is roughly worth $72,897, which includes the idle cash I have undeployed and the positions I am currently invested in. And finally, I am holding $28,132 in cash. This does not include the idle cash I have in my brokerage account and is inclusive of my emergency funds, spare cash, as well as the funds I have set aside to repay my study loan after I graduate. So if you add up the amount I have in each category, my assets are roughly worth $115,975. Next, let's look at the debt I have. As I mentioned, I was very fortunate that my parents did not pass any debt down to me. As such, I only have to pay off the student loan for the first part of my university journey before I receive my scholarship, which equates to $15,300. Therefore, to find the value of my net worth, I will subtract $15,300, which is the value of my debt, from $115,975, which is the value of my assets, and I will get a total net worth of $100,675. So for some closing thoughts before I end the video, I think the journey to my first 100K has not been easy, and there were many setbacks and challenges which I have faced along the way, like market downturns and making bad investment decisions, which I've had to learn from and adapt to. But at the end of the day, I still managed to hit this milestone, and I hope that my journey would inspire you to do the same. Some famous guy who I forgot the name of once said, "It's not about how fast you can finish, but if you finish at all." So even if it takes you a little while longer to hit your goals, it is okay because everyone is going at their own pace. The most important thing to remember is that you shouldn't give up and that there will always be a way forward. As Charlie Munger said, and I paraphrase because I don't want to get demonetized on my first video, the first 100,000 is the hardest, but you gotta do it, even if it means walking everywhere, not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon. Find a way to get your hands on the first 100,000. After that, you can ease up the game a little. Of course, he doesn't mean it literally, but you get the idea. This is important because the effects of compounding start to kick in after the first 100,000, and the subsequent 100,000s get easier after the first. So, I've hit my first 100,000. Will you be doing it too? If you're interested to find out whether I eventually hit my financial milestones, subscribe and follow along. If you have managed to watch the video till this point, thank you, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.